I cooking, that's Italian way, making my lasagna or homemade pasta, biscuits and things like that. And especially with the family, we very close family, like we used to be over there.
Our food is still Turkish-based food. I know with my husband, he eats more Turkish food than he does Australian food. So I like a lot of pasta and I like Chinese, whereas he just sticks to the Turkish food. He doesn't like to try different foods. So we have adopted Australian lifestyles and cultures, but still kept some of our traditional ways as well.
I love Australian food too.
Life for me in Geelong has been really good, really interesting, and it's been exciting for me to, for instance, I start learning English and I have to, and I was really into it. Like I really encouraged myself to just to get talk with someone and have a conversation, and that's one of the things that was like an adventure for me.
School, of course, I couldn't speak English, so that was a bit hard. Um, it was also different. I sort of felt a bit weird because all the other kids were, of course, being Australian. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I couldn't understand what my teacher was saying. But because I could speak Bulgarian, I had a few people in my class that were from Yugoslavia, so they used to speak to me in their language and I could understand what they were saying because it was similar. So there'd be a few things that they'd translate to me of what the teacher had said to them. And then that's the way I sort of communicated with my teacher, through those friends that spoke a similar language to me. So I couldn't speak English for the first about 2 weeks or so. And then after those 2 weeks, I picked up English very, very quickly. I used to always watch Play School and things like that, so I suppose that helped.
Again, when I come to Australia, I didn't speak much English, so most of the time Jenny was translating all the time for me, and I was like with her friends, they always tell a joke, and everyone were laughing at what she's looking, and Jenny tried to translate the joke for me, and everyone expecting to me, oh, is he gonna laugh or not? So, and then after I start laughing, and oh, that was good joke, but it took me a while to get used to it because you have to translate everything backward.
Early in my teens, as I was learning English, just for your understanding, everything had to translate in my head in Vietnamese and then came back to English. And now it seemed to work a little bit faster than it used to be.
In my dreams, I started dreaming in English, and it just happened, and I thought, this is the time, I'm alright now. And also when my mom used to call, she doesn't speak any English, and I start talking in English with her, and she'd say, oh, what are you talking about? I don't understand. But it happened unnatural.
It's a lot of trouble with English because I never went to school. I started learning English more when I started working. I have to learn because the job I have to know what they call it is. What is it is? A sleeves. You know, it's blouses or pants or things like that. And that's why I started learning, but I never been to school. Because when I coming back from work, I have to look after my children. And that's why I never have the opportunity to go to school.
Like I always tape myself and listen myself, and I always think, oh, what a joke. I think it sounds really, I still have the accent.
I always speak English here in Australia. I only speak Turkish at home with my parents.
Because a lot of people have left Italy, and like I said, it's very sad. There's a song they call it terra straniera. They mean strange soil. And that's what I said is why we have to leave home. And they said it's very sad. You go away, you just send me a kiss and run away. It's another song, was a lovely song, not very sad. They say, vola bianca coloma vola. They say, fly away the pigeon fly. Go and tell her I will love her deeply, and tell her she will never be by herself. I never leave her anymore.
When I came with my family, there was a house already rent out for us. There was food, fridge and bed, and clothes were all available, and that was great. And I'm still grateful for all those people who helped us.
We came to Geelong straight away because my father was living with a friend of his who lived in Geelong. I think before my father worked in Melbourne, but because of work reasons, his friend had found him work in Geelong and they were staying together in his house. So we came to Geelong, stayed at this friend's house for a while, and after a while we moved out into a place of our own.
I guess the closure that I was in refugee camp was very hard. So when I came here, so everything was open, and it was cold too. That was during in October. It was very cold for me. So I could say culture shock, basically. Yeah.
Theo Manzari, come from Greece, island Lefkas. By ship, I come. Yeah, I'm straight to Port Melbourne. And from Port Melbourne, I took the train, I went to Newcastle. I stayed to Newcastle for 14 months. It's very hard to find job, no job nowhere. A little bit, well, because I can't speak English, I'm not, very hard, very hard. I find job the forge. My friend, they're there. And after the forge shock him. Not me, lot of people, there's no jobs. Well, I like it, I stand there, I stand in Geelong. I'm not sit from there, no, because after come a lot of people from my village come here because I come to see me, stand there with me. But I'm very happy from this country.
My full name is Tony Tang and Quach, Quach, and I come from Vietnam. Look, I came to Australia in 1980. And I remember Vietnam was a very poor country. 60 million people live there in such a small area. And yeah, we all lived in poverty, basically. Look, after 1975, the North Vietnamese took over the South Vietnam, and we had to live under the communist rules. And it was very important that there were certain things that we couldn't say, and there were certain things that we really couldn't do. And if things that we said that was heard by the, either politicians or the soldiers or the police, we would get punished for it. So it was pretty tough. My family couldn't live under the communist rules. My dad was a professional surgeon in Vietnam and used to work with the American for 15 years. When the communists came, my dad was arrested just because he was involved with the American. And he was jailed for about 2 years. And when my dad came out from jail, we hired some people to build a boat, and we escaped from Vietnam. The expectation was about 4 days to get to Thai refugee camp, which is the name of Song Kla, but we end up about 4 weeks. None of us expected. We were caught by the pirates. They couldn't find what they wanted, and they start to bash up men and women, and our boat was caught by about 10 times, and that was very, very hard. I saw one of the men in our boat was, see, in Vietnam, we do have gold teeth, false teeth. And obviously, pirates saw that, and what they did was that they knocked his teeth out just to get the gold. The 10th times, they got nothing, and basically what they did was that they damaged the engine of our little boat, and we were just floating and floating and floating for roughly about 2 to 3 weeks. And at that time, we ran out of food. There was no food, so we had to drink the sea water, and that was really, really salty. We were caught by some of the officials, or some of the normal Thai people, basically village people, and they told us in. I was 10 then. I still remember vividly. I'm sure that I had nightmares for about 10 years, basically. Basically woke up midnight and sweat and was crying, but I wasn't really sure what it was. But now when I think of it, and I'm pretty sure that was nightmares that I've been through. And I remember when I first came, because I was in the sea for so long, I was very scared to go to the, say, Eastern Beach or somewhere sea water, somewhere a beach or something, because I was just scared that I'd get drowned.
Emma Bottomley from Indonesia. My mother married my stepfather, who's Australian, so Mum was asked by stepfather to come over here, and I basically followed Mum and stepdad to Geelong, Australia. Travelled to Australia by plane, Qantas, the Flying Kangaroo, and that was back in 1984, and yeah, it was the first plane trip for me, quite exciting. Primary school was probably the first thing that I experienced at 9 years of age, grade 4, and that was basically learning the new language and making new friends, and just a bit of exploring around East Geelong. That's where we lived at the time. The language for me was from school. Talking to the kids, it was practice for me with the English, and I suppose watching a lot of TV also helped. And it was a great feeling, and being amongst the kids my age, there was a feeling of, okay, you're not the only one. I didn't have any expectations because I didn't know much about Australia. The reason why we actually first came to Geelong was to do with the fact that my stepfather had family based here in Ocean Grove actually, and we actually stayed with our grandparents, Dad's parents in Ocean Grove for a couple of weeks until we were settled. So yeah, they were great help for us to first, get comfortable and get to know Geelong.
My name is Željko, they call me Jerry Juros, and I come from Croatia. Yeah. I met my wife back in 1984. We fell in love immediately, basically, and because she was there on her holidays for about a couple of months, it wasn't long enough. When she came back to Australia, we start writing her letters, basically the only way of communication, so I wish there was an email back then. We wrote her letters and back and forth and for about 8 years. That's when she decided in 1990 or 89 that she wants to go back to Croatia and see if she can reignite the old flames. And God, she did it too. Yeah, she came back and she's successful to reignite those flames, and after that period she's came back to Australia, and I made my first tourist visa to come here for a holidays, and yeah, I'm still here. You come with very little experience, very little knowledge of language, and a few people that you know. You basically left everything and everyone behind. So I must say it was difficult, and it took a fairly long time to get around the hurdle of knowing people, getting your confidence up, and start again, yeah.
My name is Sheree. I came from Bulgaria. I'm Turkish. I'm 27 years of age. How I came to Australia was we lived in Bulgaria. I was born in Bulgaria, obviously. My dad at the time had ideas of running away because of the fact that Bulgaria was under a communist regime. And being Turkish, we were disliked because of the fact Bulgaria had wars with Turkey. The officer there, he put his hand into his pocket, took out our passports and just threw them to the ground and said, "You've got 24 hours to leave the country." When we got to Australia, the only thing I remember is we got into the car and I thought, wow, something new to me because I've never seen a car before because we didn't have cars. We did, but not in the village.
My name is Alexis Lopez, and I'm from Chile. Because Pinochet was in charge, so there was a lot of problems, political problems. Well, I met Jenny, which is my wife. She went to Chile to make an interview. We started going out, dancing together, and then she came back a month later, and she asked me to come to Australia, and she said, "Look, come to Australia, it's a beautiful country, you're gonna like it." And I come as a tourist. Well, when I arrived to Geelong, I arrived about 5 o'clock in the morning, and that was really amazing. I just feel very familiar. because my country town is very similar to, it's in the port. So I used to live very close to the sea, and when I come through Eastern Beach. I start living close to the water and Eastern Beach. And
My name is Rosa Costanzo, and I come in from Sicily, Italy. I met my husband. We married, but there was no future over there. And that's when we tried to have a better future. There was immigration in Australia, and my husband decided to come in here. He left me behind at home, and after 9 months we married. After 16 months, I followed him here. Straight away when I arrived here, there was a disaster for me. The builders, the culture was much different from where I come from. After a little while, I get used to a little bit more. I was happy to be with my husband. But I miss a lot my parents, my sisters and brothers, because we used to live in the house with a 5 family, share one kitchen, share one bathroom. Was very hard, but we very, very close family. That time, 1956, was a little bit poor, but you can save money. You have enough to eat, to dress yourself, but you can't save any money. Essendon Airport arrived there on Christmas Day, 10 o'clock in the morning. My husband waited for me over there, and I was very lucky because a lot of other people didn't have the opportunity to meet the husband because some forget bear with the wife, find another woman here, or the boyfriend forgot the girlfriend home.